Namaste and good morning, everyone. We'll start with the prayers. Om Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunattu सह वीर्यं कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Now Mahamrityunjaya mantra 3 times to pray for those who are suffering because of the current pandemic or any other reasons. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकम् इव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकम् इव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकम् इव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Welcome everyone to this next level course, Sanskrit level 2 course. We are coding it as SANS-02, SANS-02. So we'll just as a sort of revision, we'll start with this is an old slide, so I have to change that. There is a prayer of Rama. I don't know how many of you still remember, but this prayer have all the vibhaktis, all the cases in the same order. So we'll recite this prayer. I'll say one line at a time and you repeat after me, and after that we'll chant it together. Ramo Rajamanihi Sada Vijayate Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Bhihata Nishachara Chamoho Ramaya Tasmai Namaha. Ramanasti Parayanam Parataram Ramasya Dasosmyaham. Rame Chittalayah Sada Bhavatu Me. Bho Rama Mam Uddhara. Now I'll recite the whole prayer continuously and you chant along with me. Ramo Rajamanihi Sada Vijayate रामं रमेशं भजे रामेणाभिहता निशाचरचमूः रामाय तस्मै नमः रामान्नास्ति परायणं परतरम् रामस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम् रामे चित्तलयः सदा भवतु मे भो राम मामुद्धर. We will also recite verb conjugations of the root gum. Lat lakara, present tense. Again, I'll say one row and you repeat after me. Gacchati, gacchataha, gacchanti. Gacchasi, gacchataha, gachatha. Gacchami, gacchavaha, gacchamaha. Now I'll do in continuously. Gacchati, gacchataha, gacchanti. Gacchasi, gachatha, gachatha. Gacchami, gacchavaha, gacchamaha. So I hope all of you have refreshed on beginner's course and we can start from there. Out of the registrations I received a few registrations from some of the people who were not part of the beginners class, but they found the link and they found it so useful that they started practicing and registered for level 2 class, which is a beautiful thing. Those of you who have not yet completed beginners course, you can join this course live. That is perfectly fine. But in parallel, please continue finishing that course, because level 2 course is built up on beginners course. And if you have not attained the comfort level in beginners course, it may be difficult for you to comprehend the concepts which we will discuss here. So if you remember, this is one of the slides we had where it lists some of the important topics of Sanskrit grammar. Sandhi, that is joining of the words. Shabda Rupa, nominal forms. Dhatu Rupa, verb forms. Samasa, compound words. Krut Pratyaya, primary nominal suffixes. And Tadhita Pratyaya, secondary nominal suffixes. There are some other topics also, but I just wanted you to focus on these. So if you remember, in the beginners course, we did the Sandhi in fairly good detail. We did Shabda Rupa, nominal forms. Just a few nominal forms we did, ending in the vowels. Then Dhatu Rupa, we did for a very few roots, the verb forms. In this level 2 course, we will cover more of the scenarios of Sandhi, Shabda Rupa and Dhatu Rupa. We will also cover these two new topics, Samasa Pratyaya and Krut Pratyaya. We may not be able to go to Tadhita Pratyaya, or I'll just give you some glimpse of Tadhita Pratyaya. But we will cover some fair details of Samasa and Krut Pratyaya, compound words and primary nominal suffixes. These two suffixes, primary Krut Pratyaya and Tadhita Pratyaya, primary nominal suffixes and secondary nominal suffixes. These two are mostly responsible for practically all the nouns in Sanskrit. So if somebody has a good command over these two category of suffixes, they can understand the meaning of the words because all the words are derived from the roots. So very important categories. And Samasa, of course, just like Sandhi, which joins the words, it creates a compound from different words, and we'll see what those things are. Today, I do not want to introduce these new topics. I want to take a little time to review what we studied in the beginner's course, as well as I want to introduce a new type of nominal form to you today. So that's what we'll attempt today. So out of Sandhi, if you remember, we have three types of Sandhis. Swara Sandhi, related to vowel, Visarga Sandhi, related to Visarga, and Vyanjana Sandhi, that is consonant. So Swara Sandhi, so the last letter of first word plus first letter of second word. So that's how the Sandhi comes into place. Sandhi comes into place between these two letters. When both of them are vowel, then it's a Swara Sandhi. And we saw a few examples of Swara Sandhi. So these are the rules. We saw these specifically, these 6 rules related to Swara Sandhi. Dirgha Sandhi, where the two similar vowels result into one long vowel. So for example, there were a lot of cases we did that, lot of exercises. So cha plus asti, chasti. So akara plus akara becomes akara. Then we had guna sandhi, where the first vowel, that means the last letter of the first word, is all akara, or it could be akara. So when I'm putting this thing in the bracket, it means it could be either short or long, and again followed by ikara, ukara, or ukara, short or long. It results into ekara, okara, or ar. Now this is important for you. Just keep in mind this name guna. We will be using a little bit of it in our level 2 course. So these three words, they themselves are called guna along with akara. So we'll see more of those. But there is a reason why these sandhi names are given as they are. Then yan sandhi. Yan sandhi is ikara, ukara, or rukara followed by any vowel. Only the first letter changes into yakara, vakara, or refa respectively, followed by the vowel. The following vowel remains unchanged. Vruddhi sandhi. Akara plus ekara, aikara, okara, or aukara. It results into these four combinations. Ayadi sandhi. Ayadi sandhi happens when, so we covered the akara, ikara, ukara, and rukara among the vowels. Now the remaining vowels, they will make the ayadi sandhi. And when they follow a vowel, except the short akara, it results into these combinations. And when it follows the short akara, only ekara and okara, then it is called purva rupa sandhi. Purva rupa means the previous form is retained, the following letter short akara that is elided, that be represented by this sign called avagra. So this is the swara sandhi or the vowel sandhi. If you remember last time, we also had this chart which tells you in a flow chart manner that how the sandhi rules flow. All this we covered in quite detail in the beginner's course. So I hope you all remember all these rules and other things, but if you don't, I would recommend you to again take a look at those classes, class notes, or class videos. Just for your information, I want to show you the Google Drive where these things are stored. I think I had not shared the screen, so there was a problem not being able to see. Sorry about that. I just shared the screen. I just realized that, and you should be able to see the other things now. So these are the, if you go to Drive now, you will see SANS-01, SANS-02, and a scripture course, which we will be conducting separately, but as a part of this course. These are all the materials in the beginners SANS-01 course. and you can go to the class videos or class notes, exercises or other study material. For SANS-02, we will have the similar structure, and you could get to the class videos, class notes or exercises and other study material. They will appear here. Then we'll have the Visarga Sandhi rules. Visarga Sandhi happens when just like vowel plus vowel is Swara Sandhi, the Visarga plus either vowel or consonant would be the Visarga Sandhi. Visarga, as you know, can only appear at the end of the word. So there is no possibility of Visarga appearing in the start of the word. It cannot appear at the start of the word. Sometimes it can come in the middle of the word. That's rare, but it can happen. It can never happen at the start of the word. So Visarga plus followed by a vowel or a consonant, that would be a Visarga Sandhi. So the rules will only apply that what is the first letter of the second word, because the last letter of the first word that is given, that is always Visarga. So Visarga Sandhi rules, I will not go one by one all these rules, but I hope you can understand and you know the principles behind the Visarga Sandhi rules. This presentation is already there in the beginners Sanskrit course for beginners in that repository. There is a chart for this also, which is a beautiful chart. Last time it was prepared by Amit Baba, which is very useful in order for you to see the whole flow in one shot. Then there is a Vyanjana Sandhi. Vyanjana Sandhi is when any of the either the first or the last, either one could be a consonant, that would be a Vyanjana Sandhi or the consonant Sandhi. Again, we discussed certain rules related to this last time. Then we discussed the Sanskrit, despite all its complexities, it only has three types of words: nominals, verbs, and indeclinables. The difference is noted by the fact that nominals are declined. That means they are in a table which is 7 by 3. An example of that is, we had this example many times chanted: Rama, Ramau, Ramaha. So these are the case, even though there are 8 cases total, the number wise, because Panini gave only 7 case and said vocative would be the same as nominative except singular. So many times people don't say 8 cases, but it's just a terminology. Literally speaking, there are 8 cases, and there are 3 numbers: singular, dual, and nominative, accusative, instrumental, dative, ablative, genitive, locative, and vocative. I can show you these ones here, which also tells you that how the subject, whether it's a subject, object, instrumental, it is representing the preposition by or with. Dative represents the preposition for. Ablative represents the preposition from. Genitive represents the preposition of, or sometimes like apostrophe s. Locative represents the preposition in or on, and vocative when you address somebody. So in a Sanskrit sentence, you will always see these forms being used, even though the base word, which is called pratipadika, it is not used directly in a Sanskrit sentence. So nominal are characterized by this particular table where every nominal would have a declension. These are called declensions. And sometimes, like in case of pronoun, the vocative case is not there and you have a 7/3 table instead of 8/3, but the logic is the same. You would have a word declined in the form of 8/3 tables. Some cases could be missing or some numbers could be missing, but idea is the same. So that's how the nominals are characterized. And these nominals, they consist of nouns, like we saw the word Rama, pronouns, he, she, it, or adjectives, like Sundara, beautiful. Then the verbs are there. The defining thing about the verbs is that they are conjugated. And conjugation means that they also have a table. It's a little bit different table, like we saw gum, gacchati, gacchataha, gacchanti. So it's a 3/3 table instead of 8/3. Even though it's a 3/3 table, overall verbs are more complex because every table has a root, a tense, the person, and the number, and also the verbs can appear in Parasmaipadi or Atmanepadi. So all this makes verbs a more complex topic than a nominal. Nominal, the table, even though the table is bigger, but the number of cases where that table appears, the number of variations, they are small. And then indeclinables. Indeclinables means the words are used as such. They do not change their form depending upon the number or case or gender or anything. So they are always used in the same form. That is indeclinable. So this is what we had seen earlier. We had seen the Sandhi rules. We had seen nominal forms, and we had seen verb forms. So today I want to introduce another kind of nominal form to you. That is a noun ending in the word un. So it is ending in un. An example could be Atman. So as we saw that nominal forms, they depend upon what is the ending. So like for example Rama, the ending is akara, and the gender is masculine. The same ending akara, another word vana, which has the same ending akara, and this is a neuter. So this is neuter, and its forms change in the first two cases. One like Ramaha, Ramau, Ramaha, Vanam, Vane, Vanani. So that is the difference. Generally, the nominal forms depend upon the ending and the gender. So far, we saw the endings which end in the vowel. So akaranta ending in a. Then we saw feminine nouns, Gita ending in akara, long a. Nari, that is feminine, ending in ikara. So we covered these forms earlier. Then we also saw Hari ending in ikaranta, ending in ikara, masculine noun. Feminine noun, ikaranta like Kirti. So we saw these forms last time. All the forms we considered in the beginner's course, they were ending in the vowels. So today we'll have a consonant ending, because noun can end either in a vowel or a consonant. So today we'll see the consonant ending forms, and that is Atman, ending in an. So we don't say ending in nakara, because there are other words which end in nakara, but the previous vowel is different, like ikara. So that is called in, ending in, not ending in an. So Atman is the self, ending in an. So the difference in the nouns which end in the vowel versus the difference in the nouns, nominals which end in the consonant, is that many of the nouns which end in the consonant, they are similar in nature to each other. Even though they may be quite different from the vowel ending nouns, but consonant ending nouns themselves, they share certain similarities. If you look at here, just look at the Atman, which is a masculine noun. It means self. Very common word, Atman, Atma. We use this word a lot in Sanskrit, Atma. So Atma is the nominative singular of Atman. How does Atman became Atma? That means there is the short a here becomes long a, and nakara is dropped. So there are all these things are based upon certain rules. As I told you in the past, that Panini has defined the rules for every single combination. And all these things will become quite clear if and when you study those rules, which is quite advanced topic. But then everything becomes very clear. There is no need to memorize anything except to understand the rules. But till then we have to understand, because we do not know all the rules, we have to memorize a little bit some forms, or at least get the sense of that what are their endings, so that we can recognize when they appear in a sentence. So out of these, these 5 forms, these are considered the forms where the un becomes a, the short a becomes long a, and some people call them as strong forms. So first case, all the 3 numbers, and second case, first and second number. The akara becomes long a. Atma, atmanau, atmanah, atmanam, atmanau, atmanah. Here it becomes shorter. In all the other cases, it again remains the shorter. So because it becomes long a instead of short a, these forms are called strong forms. Panini doesn't, of course, differentiate strong forms and weak forms like this. It is just that if we haven't studied those rules in detail, then for our making some sort of a classification, we create this distinction and understand the pattern, which is useful when we are in the beginning to understand these forms. Everywhere else you will see that it is the short a. Atmana, atmabhyam, atmabhihi, atmane, atmabhyam, atmabhyah, atmanah, atmabhyam, atmabhyah, atmanah, atmanoh, atmanam, atmani, atmanoh, atmasu, atman, atmanau, atmanah. The usage will remain the same as it was in other cases. So as we saw, atmana would mean by the self or with the self. Atmane would mean for the self. And if you remember, we had this verb called atmanepadi and parasmaipadi. This atmanepadi, if you remember, I explained that original concept was that an atmanepadi root would be used when a person is seeking the result of the action for oneself versus seeking the result of the action for others. Now the distinction is kind of lost, but the terminology remains and the forms remain. That atmanepadi is coming from this word atmane, for self, for oneself. So that's where the word atmanepadi comes for the roots, verbal roots. And this word appears so many times in different forms. Atmanaha, Atmanaha, Atmani. Atmani means in the self. Also, many people call it soul. So in the soul. And that's how these forms are. You can clearly see that some of them are quite familiar to you. Atma bhyam, 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 bhyaha, bhyaha. So because as I said, Panini has only one set of suffixes for deriving every single nominal form. And then he keeps adding certain rules because of which the suffix can undergo certain changes. But otherwise, it is the same suffix, same set of suffixes. He has given 7 by 3, 21 suffixes for deriving every single nominal form. Now in this, if you take the neuter, karman. So karman, this word karma, again another very, very popular word. We all know karma. It seems like if you just look at the word karma as if it's an akarant ending in a, but the actual base noun, base word is karman. It's ending in an, not a. And these are the forms. When you see the two forms, they are alternative, means both are correct. Generally, the second one, this one is used more often, but technically speaking, both are correct. So, and this is one thing you will find in declensions and conjugations both, that there are alternative forms, means both are correct. And this you can easily identify because karma is such a common word in Gita and other scriptures. You can easily identify karmana, karmanam, nahi karmanam anarambhat of the karma. That means just because of not performing any action, one does not become a sannyasi. So this is another extremely popular word. And here the strong forms are these two, where it becomes akara, and of course the vocative, because vocative always follows the subject. So karma, karmani, karmani, karma, karmani, karmani, karmana, karmabhyam, karmabhihi, karmane, karmabhyam, karmabhyah, कर्मणः कर्मभ्यां कर्मभ्यः कर्मणः कर्मणोः कर्मणां कर्मणि कर्मणोः कर्मसु. So here I'm not adding the word he, but otherwise you can understand it's like he karma, he karmani, he karmani. If you are addressing the action as if action is personified, very rare. It is, as you can imagine, we hardly ever make an address to an action, so this vocative form for karma is very rare. So here I want to specify a few things for you. Most of the nouns ending in an are either masculine or neuter. So there are feminine nouns, but very much less common. I told you the strong and weak stem here. So these are called strong stems, and the remaining by definition becomes normal or weaker stems. But there could be three, and I'll show you how the three part works. So first five are potentially strong, and ending is weak if it begins with a consonant, otherwise weakest. So that I'll explain to you a little bit later. But understand this, that when a noun is ending in un and it's masculine, these five words, five cases, they take the long vowel, and in the neuter it's only these two. In the feminine also it goes like the masculine. These forms become the strong form. As I said, feminine words are not many in ending in un. Then there is a case which I have taken this one from Eugene's book, where the word is rajan ending in un. Rajan. If you look at rajan and atman, what do you notice any difference? So if I use these two words, rajan and atman, so I'll write it here again. Rajan and Atman. Both are ending in an. Both are masculine. Yet there is a small difference. The difference is that before an, the consonant where it follows, it is jakara, it is a single consonant. And here it follows a two consonants, or we call it conjunct consonant. So before an, it follows two consonants. Here it follows one, and then there is a vowel. So this is a simple consonant, and this is a conjunct consonant. And this criteria, so not just ana ending in an, but whether it is preceded by, an is preceded by a simple consonant or a conjunct consonant, that makes a little bit of a difference in how do you derive these forms. So the difference is clearly here, and that's what has been put here. So look at this word, ragya atmana. So I told you that in the strong forms, it becomes long a, short a versus long a, akara. In this form, ragya versus atmana, it here, look at rajan, even the short akara is dropped. So after jakara, you have nakara, which because of some sandhi rules changes into yakara. And that's what the difference is. So there are certain forms which will become even weaker in the case of, so here it can take three types of variations. So strong, weak, and we can say weakest, or whether you want to call weaker, doesn't matter. Here it is only two variations, strong and weak, and that's the difference. So only in certain forms that difference is appearing, and those forms are highlighted here. Ragyaha atmanaha, ragya atmana, ragye atmane, ragyaha atmana. So ragni atmani. So only in a few forms that difference is there. In some other forms like Rajabhyam, that would be the same as Atmabhyam. So that difference is not there. I hope you are able to understand this. This seems like a little bit complex, but once you practice, it should be pretty clear to you. Any questions so far? There is a question in the vocative too, the dual and plural have dirgha a. So because vocative always follows the nominative, that would be the case here. So I did not highlight. Yes. So vocative, because vocative always follows the nominative. Only the first singular can be different, which is different here. So these two also take the long a, dirgha. Any questions about it? Any more questions do you have? Okay, if you do not have a question, then I would have you do the exercise. So pronunciation on the form Rajan, Rashchan or Ragya. So this is called Ragnya. It's a little bit different pronunciation, this particular conjunct consonant. This is a bit special. There are two conjunct consonants in Sanskrit. which are made a little differently. So I'll show you what is the difference. So two conjunct consonants, they are written also differently, and so this is nya, like in Guruji's name Prajnanananda, that's the one conjunct consonant, and ksha, like akshara. So this is kakara and shakara, and this sound becomes a little bit like ksha, and here the sound becomes like nya. So ragnya, ragnya, like this, ragnye, ragnya. There is a question, should we by heart all the nominative tables? I will not say that you have to memorize by heart all the tables. Get familiar with the patterns, and just as you read more, just like dictionary, you do not make your vocabulary by memorizing the dictionary. You increase your reading and then keep referring to the dictionary, and slowly words get committed to your memory with the meaning. And that's the purpose of the having the word power, that you can use them, you can understand and use them. Similarly here, you get familiar with it, keep all the tables in place as a reference, keep referring to it. Whenever you find a word, recite the whole row loudly. So for example, if you found a word called atmani, so you say it loudly, locative singular, the pratpadika atman, and then you say atmani, atmanoho, atmasu, like this. So that way it will become slowly get automatically get committed to the memory. You don't have to make a force yourself to come, because somehow you memorize one or two is okay. There's some pattern like Rama we said. So some tables which are much more common, but others you will slowly get to them as you increase your reading. So when you are reading Bhagavad Gita, for example, whenever you find a word, always go back to the table, recite it loudly, the whole row at least. So there is a question, what about Agnya? Agnya is pronounced as the same way. It's the same consonant in Agnya also, that Nya. Okay, so with this, we'll have a class exercise, and this is the exercise. So I'm prefixing the exercise by the prefix 2, indicating it's a Sanskrit level 2 course, and class exercise 1. The exercise is this. Please write the nominal table of the masculine noun Murdhan based upon the declensions of Rajan. So remember, Murdhan, it is also un preceded by conjunct consonants. So it would be more like Atman, not Rajan and Atman. So I just want you to pay the attention, even though it's more like a Atman. Sorry. So you can write this. Look at this table and write the conjugate declensions of the word Murdhan. It means head. And you can also refer to Thomas Egan's book, page number 208. This table has been taken from there. So with this, it is 9:55. We'll meet in 12 minutes, 10:07, and I'll mute myself till then. Okay, thank you. Welcome back. So there were a few questions related to this form. So one question very genuinely, that an is preceded by urdha. It's a conjunct consonant, not a simple consonant. So why should it not be like Atman and should be like Rajan? It's a good question. Always I have a challenge when I state some rules in the class, because there are rules and then there are sub rules and sub rules like this. Until unless I give you the whole picture, there will always be some cases where there would be additional rules or sub rules that will apply. And if I try to give you the whole picture, it will become quite a complex class. So trying to find a balance, but I understand at the same time you will find that there are gaps in the logic. So this is what is happening here. If you want, I can try to find the whole set of rules just to give an idea that how the whole thing works from Panini perspective, not necessarily that you have to memorize. That way you can appreciate to a certain extent that how much care he has taken to go into each and every integrity. So this is one of those cases where a general rule has another exception or sub rule. There is a question whether there would be णत्वम. So णत्वम will not be there because there is a dhakara, murdhan. So this is a simple consonant, dhakara. This is not a, but because of refa, it becomes conjunct consonant. So because of dhakara, णत्वम will not be there. That means nakara will not change into nakara. So we'll post the solutions to this later on into the drive itself or as a part of the class notes for Murdhan. I just want to show you a few examples where these forms occur. And similarly, there is a word called Brahman. I'll just one second. So there is a word called Brahman. It's also an. So very common word. So there are few common words like Atman, Karman, Brahman, which all end in an, and this word particularly has both masculine and neuter. So what happens when it is masculine and neuter? If it's masculine, the nominative singular form becomes Brahma, like Atma, and when it's neuter, it becomes Brahma. And there is a very significant reason. So Brahman, as you know, it refers to the God absolute, limitless. So ideally, there is no gender associated with the one who is limitless, who is formless, who is all pervading. So just from the language perspective, because language has to have a gender, the neuter is assigned to Brahman, and then the word becomes Brahma. So the masculine one, Brahma, that refers to the creative aspect of the, so that's a form, that's a name and form, Brahma. So when you refer to the creative aspect of the divinity, that is Lord Brahma, so that is masculine. So that difference is there. So normally Brahman is used in neuter, refers to the God absolute, and sometimes it refers, you will find that it's referred in the masculine noun, masculine gender, and that refers to Brahma, the creator. So this difference is important because Brahman, the God absolute, is not considered associated with any gender. We just say neuter gender because as per the language, some gender has to be associated to a word. There is an interesting story regarding this. So once there was a monk, Swami Ramatirtha. More than 100 years ago, he came to USA in 1902. So he was here for a couple of years. And during that time, once he was giving a talk, and when he was referring to God, sometimes he will say he, sometimes he will say she, and sometimes he will say it. So one person, after the talk, he asked Swami, can I have a question? Yes, please. Is your God he or she or it? You keep referring as he, she, or it. So is it a Mr. or a Miss? And he said, my God is neither a Miss nor a Mr. My God is a mystery. So just in Sanskrit literature, they have tried to keep that into consideration, that Brahman is a neuter noun. Then I want to show you a few examples from Gita. So 6, 5 and 8, 12. So let's see 6, 5. So this is a very popular verse, very beautiful verse. And if you look at here, Uddhared Atmanatmanam Natmanam Avsadayet Atmaibhyatmano Bandhu Atmaiva Ripuratmanah. So many times this word Atma comes. And now with this table, if you are familiar, you can easily understand which case is being used and what is the meaning. So I'll just give you a little bit. So just to take this one, and then split. So Dharet Atmana. So this word is actually Atmana plus Atmanam. And here this word is Na Atmanam. Avasadaet Atmaiva. Atma. So here this is, I hope you can make out the Sandhi easily here. Then it is, then this is the same word as Atmanaha, becomes Atmano. And then this is again the same word Atma Eva. So you see how many places we have Atmana, Atmanam, Atmanam, Atma, Atmanaha, Atma, Atmana. So 6 times the word Atman is used in different cases. So Atmana, if you look at here, Atmana, third case singular, instrumental singular, Atmana. Then Atmanam. Atmanam is the second case singular, Atmanam. The same word repeats here, Atmanam. Then Atma is the nominative singular. Atmanaha. Atmana, if you look at it, appears here, second case plural, fifth case singular, sixth case singular. Three places this Atmana appears. Which one is it? In this case, it is sixth case singular. It is just we have to see the context and the meaning, and from that it will be clear to us. Then Atma again. So nominative singular and Atmanaha. Again, it is sixth case singular. So 7 times this word Atma has come in one verse. It's a beautiful verse. Atma means self. So here it basically means Uddharet Atmanatmanam. By oneself, one has to lift oneself. Uddharet means one should lift. So one should lift oneself by oneself. Na Atmanam avasadayet. One should not allow oneself to be depressed or allow oneself to go into the dejection or depression mode. Atma eva hi atmanaha bandhuhu. One alone is one's own friend. Self alone is one's own friend. And atmaiva ripuratmana. Oneself is alone one's own enemy. So beautiful verse here. You can look at it more in detail, verse number 6-5. I just wanted to give you that how this same word has appeared 7 times in one verse. So with this, I just want to specify a few points for the Sanskrit 2 course, level 2 course, those who are taking. So please complete and revise Sanskrit 1 course thoroughly. As you know that this is built upon the foundation of Sanskrit 01. And it's okay, you can attend it in parallel, but try to make sure that you understand the beginner's course thoroughly. This course, we sent the email earlier out that it would be 20 classes. Somebody pointed out it may be too long. So we'll keep it to 16 classes. We'll reduce it to 16 classes. And we don't have the end date yet because there could be 1 or 2 weeks in between where we may not have classes. We'll inform you as and when that case arises. Also, the first 4 classes of this Sanskrit 02 we will have in IAST script, the Roman script, and we will continue using this book, the Eugene's book. So remaining 3 chapters of this book, we covered up to 15 chapters. If you remember, in the first course, we covered 15 chapters from this book. So we will continue. There are 18 chapters. So my objective is that in these 4 classes, first 4 classes, we should be able to cover those 3 chapters so that those people who, because of Devanagari or other reasons, don't want to continue the full course, they can have the whole book, at least the whole book that they have completed as a part of this course. There's another thing is that because this course is online, the amount of interaction is limited. So you have to have a schedule for self-study, and I would say that 1 to 1.5 hours per day. So that is 7 to 10 hours per week. Now in this course, this is a little lighter because we are not having three classes per week. We are only having 2 classes, and out of that, one is the scripture class and one is the grammar class. So this today is the grammar class. The scripture class tells you that how the principles which you have learned in this class are applied to the scripture, to understand the scriptures. And by today we'll have a date and we'll inform you all that what is the date and time for the scripture class. People are still registering and they are providing their preferences, because many people around the world are there. We wanted to take a preference of the time which might be suitable for most people, and most people are providing their input, and as we get the input we will inform everybody what are the timings for those classes. It looks like for now, based upon the input so far, that it could be Saturday 11 a.m. Miami time, the EDT, Eastern time in USA. So the idea is that you will have the homework only for this class. For the scripture class, the homework is just that you prepare the verses in advance. So 3 verses of the second chapter you prepare in advance for every class, so that you can understand when I explain the concepts much more clearly. And you can also ask the questions if you have any questions related to those verses. So for the scripture class, and I'll make it as a formal exercise, but that exercise would be pretty constant, that every time you prepare just for 3 verses for the scripture class in advance. When you submit the exercises, and I want to repeat that I have said it earlier, that please match your answers to the solutions and then you submit your exercises along with the relevant questions. So I want to tell you that I have not received many questions from you related to the exercises. And I hope that if you are truly doing all the exercises and you are trying to match your answers, I mean, if you are not having any questions, congratulations, you have understood everything. But otherwise, I would very much like to understand that if you are facing any difficulty or doubt in solving your exercises, then please submit those questions along with your exercise submission. And some people say that they are doing the exercises but not submitting. I would recommend you submit for 2 reasons. One, it's a kind of discipline. Second, sometimes we look at the exercise solutions, not all the emails, it's not possible, but sometimes we do look at them, and then we will point out if there are any mistakes there. So it's better to submit the exercises. We will be having the less spoon feeding compared to Sanskrit 1 course. So you will be provided the resources, web links, books or custom documents, but you have to study and make your own notes. We will provide the notes, class notes would be there, but you also have to, so we will provide the video, they would be there, but please make sure that you also have your own understanding and ask the questions. And Sanskrit is a matter of serious study. It's not a casual. It's like any other subject which you want to study seriously, like physics, chemistry. So please give the commitment which it deserves. And can you hear me? So please make sure that in order to get the most out of this course, you do give it the commitment it deserves, and then you would be able to acquire the efficiency whereby you will become comfortable in understanding the verses. And that's the purpose. Remember, our purpose of studying Sanskrit is primarily to be able to understand the scriptures. That's our primary purpose. So for that purpose, this course would be lighter compared to last one, because there would be only 1 grammar class and 1 scripture class, versus last time when we are having 3 classes per week. So this would be lighter, yet so that gives you more opportunity to go into a little bit more detail and depth, and please do so. I would be happy to receive your questions if you are having any questions or doubts. Some people did ask, and some people did point out that there were some typos in the answers to the exercises which we provided. So please if you are doing the exercise, I would hope that many of you would have pointed that out, but only a few people, one or two people only pointed it out that there were typos in the solutions to the exercise. So I hope you can be a little bit more committed. I know that there are a lot of other things, and that's why we have reduced the number of class hours in this course, that you might be able to get to attend other duties as well as provide the time to Sanskrit and not being overwhelmed by it. So with this, I just wanted to let you know. And there was another question related to the timing of this class. So one person suggested, should we have it both at 11, because if the other class is going to be at 11, should we have it as a combined? So I was thinking if I could send you just one question survey and you could reply, all of you, once the scripture class is finalized, whether 9 or 11 would be more suitable. And if we need to change, we can change accordingly. If all of you are okay with the 9 as it is right now, then we can continue it, this class as 9 and other class potentially at 11. So because this would be always difficult to find a time which would suit everybody. So I was just trying to find some time where it can suit most of the people, and particularly for the scripture class, because for the scripture class, it is a generic class. Not only those people who know Sanskrit can attend. So that's where I had given the options there. So here we can potentially keep it at 9, and I can say that I can see some of the comments that 9 is okay. Maybe we can continue with the 9 o'clock. So with this, I would close this session, and with the prayers. So we'll do together these prayers. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते, पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Thank you.